Hey guys, we're going to talk about ascension process, and we're going to talk about the fact that you are God's source and that you projected yourself through many dimensions, layers, densities, if you will, down to this complexity where you start your journey with a sort of amnesia, being only a baby in an already pre-made world. So you as a baby in a pre-made world, you had to learn about just walking, talking, going about that world. And then there are cycles. So you become a teenager, adolescent, adult, and you are then expanding the understanding of this world and this reality. And then when you are, well, by the blueprint, when you're like 33 years of age, your consciousness will expand further out from this reality, and you start to have universal consciousness, which is called also the Christ, or Christ consciousness. So you become aware of your oversoul and the higher densities all the way to source. Now this is not a rule when I say the blueprint that this happens when you're 33. That is a general blueprint, but there are for every rule exceptions, and things can happen in many ways. So one basic thing about this reality: we experience time and cycles and rhythms and arrangements, but you could say that all of these are just a construct. So literally what time is this. I'll just get an object to demonstrate this. So let's say this, you see this here, where you are, there's no time. You are the perceiver, the consciousness, so you are in no time. And then around you, there is something that is rhythmically coming and going, like day and night, right? So every time this moves through your awareness, you can update. So let's say you add something to it, right? Tap. And then when it comes here again, you know from the previous cycle it was like this. Now you can change it. And then it goes. And then you rest. And then this comes here and you can rearrange it. So you learn how to play with these. And you have cycles. And you experience that as time. So everything in your reality is a feedback loop. Time construct is a feedback loop. It's literally your reality is showing you different things that you need to learn and play with. And so when you become aware of the cycles, you will see that certain patterns were playing out in your life since the day you was born. And these patterns will repeat throughout cycles when you're every 7 years or every 11 years, or there is sort of like a mathematical pattern. We don't need to be too scientific about it, but let's say you're 11, you're 22, you're 33, you're 44, you're 55, you're gonna see that there is an 11-year cycle, which brings everything to an expansion. You know, all things that come, you build, you play with them, and then you let go. There's like this night, and then again, you're upgrading the build. So the time is a spiral, right? You're always expanding every next spiral of time, you get to expand on that thing that you learned, this pattern. So you have a pattern, and me as an individual, I have my pattern. Every single individual have a unique pattern. Some patterns are similar, so there are people around the world that have a similar pattern. They might even have a very similar genetic blueprint. They might even look like this, but they're somewhere on another continent. They look exactly the same. So their thoughts and emotions might move in a similar melody, in a similar arrangement. Still, there is always a slight degree of variation, because even when things are very much alike, there is no two things that are the same. In the logos, in the higher densities, the things are just ideas. And here, ideas are expressed as a dynamic experience. So dynamic experience means everything always moves. It's a process. So there's no perfection. In the higher densities, ideas are perfect. Here, ideas are always dynamic. They're always in a process of reconfiguration, reconceptualization. So you are actually the creation itself. And the cool thing about you in this human journey is that you actually get to experience yourself as this absolute creation, but also experience yourself as this miniature type of player. Because you seem to be a really puny, tiny little avatar in a huge, infinite world. The idea behind this is, the smaller the hero, the bigger the adventure. So the world looks infinite, and it's an optical illusion that the world is infinitely big and you are tiny. Because space, form, and size is relative. It's also holographic. That means holographic. It means, imagine a tiny dot, the tiniest dot, the tiniest grain of sand. And I ask you this question. It's a mindfuck question. It's a Zen koan, if you will. Does the tiniest speck of sand contain in itself all the beaches? Use your intuition to answer this question. Because this is a question that is gonna fuck up your logic. It's designed to fuck up your logic. Because if you feel into it, you will say yes, but you don't know how. This is the holographic nature. The tiniest speck of sand does contain all the beaches in itself. And all the beaches on the infinite planets, on the infinite galaxies, and you can add more universes to this, and more beaches, and like more tons of sand, and just infinite sand. And still all of this sand is contained in the tiniest speck of sand. So in your human little tiny vessel, yes, the whole macrocosm is contained. And the blueprint for the reality as you perceive it outside of you, even the stars and galaxies, they are all within you. So self-realization, self-discovery is like, there's more to this thing than you get to learn in the first cycle. And then you go through the second cycle, third cycle, fourth cycle. And there's more things to discover within you. I'm in my fourth cycle as a human being. Now I'm discovering when I go inside in my body, there are little tunnels and elevators that take my consciousness into different portals. I open one of these doors, going inside of myself. It leads me into a castle or a hotel with infinite rooms. I open one room, it's a Matrix dojo, like from the movie Matrix, when Neo goes into dojo and he learns the freaking... And I'm like there and I just download the martial arts, right? And then the other room is just receiving downloads, learning qualities, getting quantum updates on stuff. But every single room is something else that you can flower, that you can develop in yourself when you're in this world. And you can take time in this time cycle, and you can do that. Like swordsmanship or something, art, sculpture, many other things. And so I'm like, well, there's infinite rooms here. It's all in my head. There's infinite rooms here. I don't think that I can manage to actually even just browse the rooms. How many potentialities there are that you can choose to develop individually, because I said you had a pattern, and yes, you did. Everybody's born with a pattern. Now, when you become self-aware that you are the avatar of this absoluteness, the creation itself, then what now? Who decides what the pattern is? Because now you can go into every pattern, every soul contract, every constellation, every part of reality, and you can edit that to your will. And then your omnipotence is infinite, to the degree that you can manifest a universe. And I'm still integrating things that I've seen, because it was in my pattern to be in these situations and see these things, but my interpretation is still lagging. So I'm making this video. So I actually went from being in this density where we call like the physical reality, the internet, and with some Kriya Yoga went into the emptiness, and then there through a very archetypal sexual union of masculine and feminine in the emptiness with my counterpart, we create a universe that literally popped up out of my crown, and it wrote itself So what I'm saying is I'm actually a human right here just like you, and then you can create a whole universe. It's like a little fondue bubble that goes out of your head and it's just like bloop. And so what does that mean? How does that work? I will make more reports and tell you about everything, but it basically means that now you can participate in this multiplayer arena, but you can also change anything in any way that you can conceive to be possible. Because universe is a pattern, is a blueprint, it's a generative algorithm that just generates infinite planets and infinite beings and infinite natures and civilizations and blah, 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 blah. And so it does that from the pattern. From the pattern, a universe is manifested. It's an algorithm, it's like an AI. It just generates itself to the max. And your mind, your body, your nature, your everything is created from this pattern. But then when we grow up in this pattern and we self-realize in this pattern and we become masters of the universe, yes? Because we understand that we are that creative agency. We understand that we are that creative agency that birthed the universe in the first place and then came into being inside of that construct in order to have a body to experience its own creation. Now at the same time you are the experiencer, but you are also the absolute. And now you can get creative in the first person. With your little fingers you can touch your keyboard and you can write things and right? But you can get creative on any other level. Like Krishna previously incarnated into this density and moved a mountain. How did we move a mountain? From the map editor. From the map editor. You know, you have the player mode, you have the editor mode. When you go to editor mode, you can move things. You can shuffle things around. You can shuffle stars around the sky and give birth to planets. Sounds huge for a human endeavor. Know thyself.